And it's inflation season right now. Everyone waiting for the September report from major economies. And right here, we're also expecting, the inflation figure for September right here in Lagos, in Nigeria. And definitely we have to unpack that. We have Dumebi Oluwole, Senior Analyst, Financial Derivatives Company, joining me right here in the studio. Dumebi, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah. Yeah. So some countries are already seeing, some improvement, when it comes to inflation numbers. Last for August, we were 25.8, big number. What are you expecting for September?
Yeah, so actually, August, I think it was 20, yeah. Regardless of whatever the number is, we know that inflation numbers are gonna, increase a lot more. And this is primarily because of the depreciation in the Naira and how that is now having a very quick pass-through effect to inflationary pressures in the country. And this is primarily happening with food prices, and then you now have that feeding into importation costs for businesses, and then that's also feeding into their operating expenses, and then they have to, it's a whole loop that has, continued to happen. And right now we've seen from the reform period, that's when Nigeria unified its exchange rate, up until today, the Naira has lost over 20%. That's between May and today. And year to date, the Naira has actually depreciated by almost 40%.
That's a huge number.
That's a very huge...
40%.
Yes, by almost 40%. That's a very huge number. The gap between the official rate and the parallel rate has widened after narrowing to about 2% when the reforms actually started. It has widened again to about 26%. And what this tells you is that the true value of the Naira is beginning to look more like the parallel market, rate. And while that unfortunately seems to be very true, what this also means is that market participants would continue to bet against the Naira. They will continue to hold their dollars, and then at the same time, go long on the dollars and go short on the Naira, simply because of two things that are happening. Number one, FX supply issues are still lingering, and with the FX supply issues lingering, people, market participants do not expect that there will be any significant boost in supply in the near term, and then that now spirals into speculative buying, and then we see that happen on the demand side though for the Naira. And then, like I mentioned before, with supply side issues still lingering, and then the market participants continue to price all of these risks into the Naira. And then to worsen it, the US dollar has been gaining marginally. Or between from the beginning of the year up until today, the US dollar has strengthened by over 10%. And what this means is that market participants as well will keep favoring more stable, safe haven currencies like the US dollar, as opposed to holding Naira, or even making Naira investments in the country. So these are the issues that the Naira is currently facing, and unfortunately, they will still, it will still be very potent in the near term. And I guess one last issue is the fact that, number one, the fact that the CBN as well, I will say the credibility of the CBN in actually sticking to some of its policies has actually come into question when it comes to the forex market. And we see that market participants actually price this as a risk. So there is something now called as the CBN risk, in the forex market. And unfortunately, we see market participants actually price this in. And what this comes in the form of is, number one, actually supplying FX continuously and by the same magnitude in the forex market. Now, because supply is not consistent, and at the same time it doesn't come at the same magnitude, there is uncertainty with FX supply, and that is priced into the market.
I remember one time, even the BDC operators were complaining that they didn't have enough supply.
Yes.
But I saw this interesting tweet yesterday. The person talked about going to the black market to buy some dollars, and they were offering at the parallel market rate.
Yes.
And he said that he insisted that he wanted that official rate.
Yes.
And some said it was sarcasm and all of that. But just imagine we all had that mentality.
Yes.
Would that help at all?
I mean, I don't think it will, because it's really not their fault. The dollars are scarce to give. So, and it's just demand-supply dynamics. If supply is short, the price will go high. And if you really think about it, from the economic perspective, exchange rate really is the price of your currency. So if your currency is scarce in the market, what will happen is the price will go up. That's exactly what's happening with the Naira. So once dollar is short, people will decide to hold. And, it's just how it's like buying and selling, basically.
Right.
If people expect that, oh, this is going to continue to happen with the Naira, they will hold their dollar positions in expectation that the Naira would fall a lot more and they could gain. You make profits off that.
So maybe I'm looking for patriots here that will say, you know what, let's defend the Naira any way we can.
I mean, but regardless of that, there's a lot more that happens from just from just me and you meeting up with a commercial bank or a BDC operator to get some dollars. There is still that overarching thing that has to come with monetary policy as well. When we go back to the fundamentals of economics, you realize that monetary policy comes in play when you look at price stability. And price stability is not only inflation. It also comes into play with the exchange rate as well, simply because the exchange rate does a lot more than, does a lot more for an economy than just what your currency is. It is a very huge tool for investors. Exchange rate does tell you the attractiveness of your economy to foreign investors. So if your currency continues to fall, continues to depreciate in value, foreign investors would definitely price that in before even lending you money. So if you venture into the international debt market, it is one of the things that will be priced against you when you venture, when you try to get loans and all of that. Credit rating downgrades as well. It is one of the things that feeds into that. And then when you look at it from a macro perspective, what your exchange rate devaluing continuously does, it increases inflation. So there is that dynamics between exchange rates and how that feeds into inflationary pressures in your economy. Number two, it makes your foreign debt more expensive. So your dollar-denominated debt, so the debt that we're looking at right now for Nigeria, in dollar terms, is becoming more expensive. And what that does is there is now another risk of repayment being priced into the economy. That's whenever investors or business owners are looking to set up shop or even bringing their funds into the Nigerian economy. There's also what it does for government revenue. So if you're not earning as much in dollar terms, in Naira terms, it means that your money is also small.
Right.
So the exchange rate has this domino effect. And what I was saying again about the CBN as well, right now the MPC meeting was postponed. We don't get.
Right. Yeah, I was going to bring that up because we're expecting, we're definitely going to have a meeting.
Definitely, that has to happen.
It's going to be the first one under a new
CBN government.
Leadership.
Yes.
But what should they be? There's a lot of pressure right now. Currency devaluation,
the FX backlogs, forex forwards.
It's so much.
So there's a lot of things.
Where do they start from?
And like I said before, that's why I called it the CBN risk, right? Simply because there are a lot of balls, juggling at the same time. And the CBN governor does have his work cut out for him. And the question now is what to prioritize. But because inflation is spiraling, the Naira is also devaluing very quickly. And a lot of this uncertainty and silence is what is also being priced into the devaluation of the Naira or the fast depreciation of the Naira. The Naira touched 1,030 Naira yesterday.
So sad.
Laddie.
That's so sad.
How it moved was pretty significant. It moved from 1,005 to 1,010 to 1,020 before closing at 1,030. And what does that tell you? There's a lot of market sentiments that are not in favor of Nigeria right now. And we need a quick fix. We need a quick fix. And it's more than press releases and press statements that will instill that investor confidence and encourage people to not keep shorting the Naira. We've done the reforms, and with reforms you have to continue with them. If not, what we're seeing is the reform momentum is literally going down, and we need to bring that back up. We've started well, and we definitely need to continue so that this risk do not, this reform momentum doesn't end up coming back, to cause the chickens to come home to roost. That's exactly what this case is. And a very good example, I said this the last time with INE, is the Asian 1997 crisis that happened, South Asian. This is exactly what started it, and we do not want a full-blown exchange rate crisis on our hands, because it will now take a lot more time to solve the damage, right? Because we've started the reforms, we need to stick to it. So things like the restrictions on FX importation, Nigeria is not yet self-sufficient, and the more supply, the more we're not able to fix our agricultural productivity, the more we need this exportation, the more we need this importation, we need these goods to come in so that prices are able to stabilize to an extent. If we were producing enough, then the conversation about import substitution and import substitution model for fiscal policy will be a lot more credible and will make a lot more sense. But right now, we don't have that. We're not producing enough. Our farmers are struggling, so there's that issue coming in. And manufacturers are also struggling with imports as well. We have port issues to solve. We have a lot of things to pricing, and it's just not doing the job for the businesses that should be creating the jobs that we need and eventually boosting the output that we need. Because really, when you look at the role of government, the role of public officials, of even fiscal policy in general, is to create that positive environment, that thriving economic environment for businesses to come in and do their job. That's why we talk about private sector-led economic growth. And to be very honest, the Tinubu administration has been very big on that, but we just need them to go a lot more. If we've started, let's go all the way. Right. No, there's no time for us
because it just seems like at this point there's no time to waste.
Yes,
time. You need to go ahead.
Exactly.
Because we're seeing the IMF there revising our growth forecast, for 2023, but they are seeing some improvement for 2024. How do you see that?
I mean, that's pretty much what everyone expects. When you take on reforms, the expectation is that your economy will definitely be hard hit, consumer demand will fall, and Nigeria is highly consumption-based. When you look at the formula for national income accounting, you know that output is a function of consumption, investment, government spending, and then net exports.
Yes.
And in Nigeria's national income accounting, consumption alone, consumption makes up 70% of that before you take into account investment and government expenditure and then net exports. So if consumer demand continues to fall simply because prices are spiraling, and prices are spiraling because manufacturers are experiencing, so there's a lot feeding into that consumption function, and the expectation is that consumer demand will continue to dwindle just simply because of the hits that consumers are feeling. We're seeing the income bracket shrink a lot more, and there's almost no middle income class anymore. So right now, middle income class is
practically wiped out.
Yeah, so it's either you're rich or you're poor right now, and it's especially when you convert what you earn in dollar terms, that's when the real reality of your income, comes into play. Or when you take that money you earn and you go to the market to really buy things.
Maybe I want to be in the rich class so bad, but oh my goodness. Hopefully. Yeah. Thank you so much, Dumebi Oluwole, Senior Analyst, Financial Derivatives Company. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take a moment now.